I collected exactly 100 facts about the John Wick franchise. With the upcoming ballerina with Ana de Armas, I was curious about the details of the franchise. They call him Baba Yaga, the man you sent to kill the boogeyman. But behind every headshot, suit, and silent stare lies a mountain of secrets, near impossible stunts, and crazy behind-the-scenes moments. Whether you're a hardcore fan or just love watching Keanu Reeves, this is the ultimate breakdown. From hidden trivia to jaw-dropping facts you definitely missed. So here are the top facts about the John Wick franchise you didn't know you needed. Grab your suit, load up the clips, and let's dive into the world of John Wick. John Wick was originally titled Squadron, with an elderly assassin in mind. The original script followed a 75-year-old retired killer dragged back into the underworld. When Keanu Reeves expressed interest, he not only reimagined the role for himself, but also caused the title to be changed after he kept referring to the character's name in interviews, giving the studio millions in unplanned publicity. Keanu Reeves didn't just act, he helped to shape the entire tone of the franchise. He collaborated with writer Daryl Kolstad during script development, suggesting changes to character arcs, pacing, and even emotional beats. His input helped transform John Wick from a standard revenge thriller into a mythic, stylized universe. The name John Wick was inspired by writer Daryl Kolstad's grandfather. Kolstad described his grandfather John Wick as a stoic, honorable man, which informed the sense of quiet dignity in Keanu's character. It was meant as both a tribute and a way to ground the hyper-stylized world into something personal. Director Chad Stahelski had a unique bond with Keanu Reeves long before John Wick. Stahelski was Reeves' stunt double in The Matrix, and their professional trust led to the Stahelski's first directorial job on John Wick. This background also explains why the action scenes are so well integrated with character emotion and physicality. The visual and storytelling style is heavily influenced by anime, samurai films, and graphic novels. Directors Stahelski and Leitch referenced works by John Woo, Akira Kurosawa, and the classic manga when designing the fight scenes and color palettes. This is why the films often feel operatic and mythic rather than gritty or grounded. The Continental Hotel was inspired by a real location in Canada, with a surreal twist. The production team took inspiration from the Hotel de Claise in Quebec, a nice hotel that looks luxurious yet unwelcoming. The idea was to create a place of impossible neutrality that feels as much as like a church as a hotel. The gold coin economy wasn't just for style, it represents a timeless fairytale logic. The coin system and blood markers were introduced to create a mythic code of honor in the assassin world. They serve as universal currencies of trust, loyalty, and power, far more symbolic than monetary. Keanu Reeves performed around 90% of his own stunts throughout the franchise, from gunplay and hand-to-hand combat to horse riding and driving. Keanu insisted on doing the work himself. His dedication allowed the camera to stay wild and still, enhancing the realism and immersion. He underwent 4 to 6 months of intense training for each film. His regime included judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Japanese combat system, and tactical gun work. The blend of martial arts and firearm training led to the now iconic gun flu style. Keanu trained with Taron Tactical, a real-world gun range used by professionals. There, he practiced high-speed reloading, room-cleaning tactics, and stress shooting drills. The training was so rigorous that military advisors praised his technique as near-professional. Keanu Reeves also did most of his own driving stunts, including drifts, spins, and crashes. In Chapter 4, he trained for nearly 9 months to perfect combat driving, while reloading and firing live weapons. His performance was so sharp that the Top Gear team rated him an 8 out of 10 drifter. The Arc of Triumph car chase was filmed in Berlin, using real vehicles and zero CGI collisions. Cars were choreographed down to the second, with stunt teams executing real-time impacts and traffic dodging. The crew said it was one of the most dangerous sequences they'd ever pulled off. On the first film, Keanu shot a major nightclub sequence with a fever. He refused to delay filming, instead using the exhaustion to fuel his portrayal of John's broken, grieving state. This kind of commitment became a defining trait of the franchise. Keanu suffered a real physical consequences: bruises, vomiting, and constant strain. During Parabellum in Chapter 4, he regularly took ice baths between scenes. The action is designed around long takes, not fast edits, like a modern silent film. The directors drew inspiration from Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, using visual storytelling and choreography over shaky cam. This approach makes the Brutality feel more elegant and deliberate. One shot in Chapter 4 used a 3D wire cam, descending a stairwell operated by hand. Cinematographer James Frater manually ran with the camera rig after crane setups failed. The result was a visceral, immersive shot that followed John Wick through the chaos without cutting. The original puppy's death almost got cut, but Stahelski fought to keep it in. Studio execs feared it was too much for the audience, but the director argued that it defined John Wick's pain and made the violence emotionally grounded. It ultimately became the heart of the entire franchise. The iconic pencil kill was based on real close combat drills used by Navy SEALs. Choreographed over multiple days using foam and rubber props, the scene was designed to feel horrifying but technically believable. It became a recurring motif in later films. Eva Longoria helped finance the first John Wick movie. Through her production company, she contributed $6 million in gap financing to help get the project off the ground. Her role was largely behind the scenes, but crucial in turning John Wick into the franchise. Chapter 2 takes place just 4 days after the first film ends. The opening directly continues continues from where John retrieves his Mustang from Abram Tarasov. This side timeline means that by the end of the chapter 3, the entire trilogy spans roughly 2 weeks of John's life. The Blood Oath marker is based on real-world mafia codes. In the criminal underworld, life thefts often required a symbolic token. In John Wick's universe, this token became literal, sealed with bloody thumbprint symbolizing unbreakable obligation. The Roman Continental was filmed in a real museum, no sets or green screens. Located in Rome, the interiors were minimally altered for the movie. The elegant, timeless vibe made the location feel part of the assassin mythology. The mirror room final was inspired by Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. Titled Reflection of the Soul, the mirrored maze was both a visual challenge and a metaphor. Each reflection was meant to represent John Wick's fractured identity, hunted and hunter all at once. The similar scene parodies James Bond, but with guns instead of martinis. John Wick requires firearms with wine-like descriptions, robust for a shotgun, precise for a Glock. The actor playing the sommelier is Peter Serafinovich, a comedy actor known for a dry wit, adding a subtle humor. Keanu Reeves memorized 40 move fight sequences without camera cuts. One of the best examples is his subway brawl with Cajun, which mixes his kung fu, judo, and knife fighting in a single flowing tape. This sequence alone took multiple weeks of rehearsal. Keanu and Kamen crashed into a subway pole mid-take and kept going. That slam was real, and they improvised to stay in character. The moment was painful, but added realism so it stayed in the final cut. The catacomb scene was rehearsed using video game logic. Stahelski designed the sequences like a level map, with gun stashes, traps, and dead ends. It's one of the most tactical set pieces, with real reloads and ammo management. Parabellum is a Latin for prepare for war, a reference to the saying Si vis pacem parabellum. The subtitle foreshadows the all-out conflict John Wick triggers by killing on continental grounds. It also marks a turning point where survival overtakes revenge. The New York Public Library fight was shot on location with limited access. The scene with the 7'3" assassin was filmed after hours in the actual library. Using real antique shelves inside corridors, Keanu Reeves had to rehearse silently to avoid damage. The Moroccan shootout used real trained Belgian Malinois dogs, no CGI. Halle Berry trained for 6 months to command the dogs using voice and body signals. Her dogs performed every jump, takedown, and disarm naturally, with minimal visual effects. John Wick riding a horse through Brooklyn was done on a real street at night. Keanu rehearsed horseback stunts in daylight for safety, but insisted on riding during takes. The result is one of the franchise's most surreal yet grounded chase scenes. Halle Berry broke 3 ribs while training for her role, and still finished the film. Her physical training matched Keanu's: judo, jiu-jitsu, firearms, and dog coordination. She called it the hardest prep of my entire career. The knifed museum fight used real throwing practice and retraceable blades. The scene was so complex that it took over a week to film. Some of the wall throws were so accurate they accidentally shattered the set glass. Keanu Reeves spent 2 to 3 hours in the makeup chair for every battle-damaged look. Especially in Parabellum, continuity was critical. Cuts, bruises, and blood had to line up shot by shot. The makeup team treated it like forensic evidence. The staircase fight in Paris took over a week to shoot, and Keanu Reeves fell repeatedly. The 222-step sequence was filmed at Montmartre, Sacré-Cœur Basilica. Keanu Reeves took real tumbles but insisted on finishing shots himself for authenticity. The top-down apartment shot was inspired by tactical shooter video games. Using a wire-mounted drone camera, the entire scene was captured in one fluid overhead take. It became one of the most talked about visual moments in action cinema. Donnie Yen's character Kane was written specifically for him, and much of his dialogue was improvised. Donnie Yen added his own touch to the blind assassin gestures, attitude, and humor. Despite being blind, Kane's calm control made him one of the John Wick's most memorable foes. Keanu Reeves gifted his stunt team Rolex watches, engraved with John Wick 5. He also gave them custom shirts and thanked them during rap speeches, saying, "The movies will only work because you make me look invincible." The Continental isn't just a hotel, it's sacred ground for killers bound by strict code. The rule "no business on Continental grounds" is absolute. Violating it leads to excommunication and forfeiture of all protections, which is why Santino's death in Chapter 2 spirals into global consequences. The High Table is a ruling council of 12 families who control global crime. Their power extends across all nations, cultures, and syndicates. Even Winston and the Bowery King serve them until they rebel. Each culture has its own branch of assassin world, from Moroccan coin process to Japanese continental hotels. The universe grows with each film, showing how deeply embedded this society is in everyday life, but hidden in plain sight. Markers, gold coins, and strict etiquette turned this criminal world into a fairy tale of violence. Director Chad Stahelski said the rules were created to make the underworld feel like a dark fable. That's why there are no police chases, courtrooms, or real-world consequences. It is its own mythic ecosystem. Winston, the Continental Manager, is one of the most ambiguous characters in the franchise. Played by Ian McShane, Winston operates within the rules, until he doesn't. His loyalty to John seems genuine, but he's also playing both sides. Lance Reddick's character Charon, the concierge, was based on the mythical ferryman of the dead. His name and demeanor referenced the Greek figure who escorted souls across the river Styx. Calm, efficient, and unshakable, Charon became a fan favorite for his grace under pressure. Sophia, played by Halle Berry, was inspired by ancient Egyptian goddesses of vengeance. Her bond with her dogs was written as an extension of her rage, a literal pact she commences with her voice. Though she only appears in Parabellum, her scene left a lasting mark on the franchise. The Bowery King, played by Lawrence Fishburne, was written as a street-level anarchist with a hidden power. His network of spies and vagrants mimics an old-school intelligence agency. Fishburne and Reeves reunited in this film after years apart since The Matrix. The first film had a modest budget of $20 million, but became a global hit. Lionsgate didn't greenlight a sequel until strong Blu-ray and streaming sales rolled in. John Wick became a word-of-mouth success, not because of marketing, but because fans couldn't stop talking about it. Over 400 people die across the 4 films, and each kill was choreographed uniquely. The kill counts are roughly 77 in Chapter 1, 128 in Chapter 2, 94 in Parabellum, and 140 plus in Chapter 4. Unlike other action movies, every death feels intimate, not disposable. The franchise spawned a real-world Wick-style combat training industry. Gun ranges and martial arts schools around the world now offer John Wick-inspired courses. These focus on Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and close quarters firearms training. Baba Yaga, often mistranslated as the boogeyman, actually means something deeper. In Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga is a mythical witch who lives in the woods, mysterious, dangerous, and supernatural. The nickname reflects how assassins view John Wick, not just feared but borderline unreal. John Wick speaks few words, but every line is intentional. In some movies, he has fewer than 100 words of dialogue. This silence helps build his mythic aura, making his presence more threatening and symbolic. Keanu Reeves took pay cuts during multiple sequels to increase budget for the stunt and crew departments. He insisted that fight teams, dog trainers, and stunt drivers receive better gear and bonuses. This generosity contributes to a strong, loyal production team that returned film after film. A spin-off titled Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, expands the universe through another trained killer. It's set between Chapter 3 and 4, with cameos from Keanu Reeves, McShane, and Reddick. The story follows a female assassin avenging her family while operating under the same assassin code. A prequel series, The Continental, explores the origin of the Assassin Hotel and Winston's younger days. Set in the 1970s, it shows how the Continental became a pillar of underworld order. It also explores the early rise of the High Table and the founding rules. Every film ends with John physically and emotionally broken, but still standing. His survival is never glamorized. He limps, bleeds, falls downstairs, gets stitched up, and often seems more machine than man, which is exactly why fans call him mythic. The John Wick franchise redefined Western action cinema. Its emphasis on real stunts, long takes, and brutal choreography influenced films like Atomic Blonde, Nobody, Extraction, and even parts of Mission Impossible. In a world of CGI-heavy blockbusters, John Wick brought back the visceral pain of analog. Every firearm used by John Wick is real and tactically accurate, no CGI weaponry. Keanu Reeves trained with live rounds, often reloading blindfolded to simulate real pressure. His pistols, shotguns, and rifles are all customized with real tactical modes, including compensators, custom grips, and extended magazines. John Wick reloads more realistically than nearly any action hero in cinema. Unlike many Hollywood films where guns have endless ammo, John Wick reloads after every few shots, often mid-fight. Navy SEAL instructors praised the franchise for tactical combat realism. The double tap, shooting enemies twice rapidly, is a consistent part of John Wick's kill style. This technique, taken from actual law enforcement and military training, reduces the chance of retaliation. It also gives his kill a brutal efficiency that feels both clinical and personal. Each kill is choreographed like a dance, with gunshots treated as beats. Chad Stahelski calls it violent ballet, where John Wick's movement flows between targets. That's why the scenes are edited to the rhythm of his reloading, stepping, and firing, not background music. In Chapter 4, John Wick racks up nearly 50 kills in the final Paris sequence alone. This includes the Arc de Triomphe chase, the shotgun hallway, and the 222-step staircase. The team used a kill tracker on set to maintain continuity across takes. No 2 kills are alike. The stunt team designed every death to avoid repetition. That's why John Wick uses knives, books, axes, belts, pull cues, horses, cars, and even a dog leash. The diversity in kill methods is a part of what makes the franchise rewatchable. A deleted scene from Chapter 2 showed John Wick burying his guns in a cemetery, not cementing them in his basement. The scene was scrapped for being too symbolic and not personal enough. An alternate ending to Chapter 3 had John Wick killing Winston after being betrayed. The ending was filmed but never finalized, as test audience found it too hopeless. Instead, they left Winston's motives ambiguous. Is he loyal, strategic, or just selfish? Parabellum originally included a flashback to John Wick's orphanage training in Belarus. You can still see traces of his storyline in the director's cut concept art, where young John learns ballet, guns, and discipline from the director. The original script for Chapter 1 didn't feature any high table or mythology. It was simply about a man avenging his dog. The success of the first film encouraged the writers to build out a much bigger universe in the sequels. Keanu and Chad Stahelski storyboard every fight sequence together, by hand. They use whiteboards and diagrams to plot every shot, kill, and transition before rehearsals even begin. This level of pre-visual planning is rare in modern action films. The Red Circle nightclub fight in the Chapter 1 took over 3 weeks to film. The crew used real nightclub dancers and shot around live water fixtures, strobe lights, and tight staircases. Many of the gunshots were added in post, so extras could dance silently without ruining the audio. Keanu Reeves did actual stair falls in Paris. Those stuntmen handled the most dangerous roles. For continuity, Keanu Reeves still had to tumble down smaller sections himself, and he bruised his back and ribs during filming. John Wick's house is open, warm-toned, and vulnerable, the opposite of the Continental. Cinematographers use wide shots and soft light at home, while the Continental is framed with cold symmetry. This contrast reflects how John's emotional life ends the moment he re-enters the assassin world. Keanu Reeves keeps his weapons and costumes after each movie, as part of his emotional inventory. He said in interviews that each John Wick movie is a part performance, part therapy. The weapons represent different eras of his training and acting evolution. The phrase "I'm back" from Chapter 1 was never meant to be iconic, but fans made it a meme. John Wick's character is partially inspired by Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. Like Eastwood's gunslinger, Wick is quiet, deadly, and governed by personal code. This archetype of the mythic lone killer shaped how Keanu Reeves played him: calm, collected, and lethal. The Bowery King is modeled after Shakespearean Fool King archetype. Though he speaks in riddles and jokes, he controls an army beneath the streets. His patchwork robe and throne imagery elevate him into a street-level ruler, anarchist royalty. Sophia's dog training scenes mirror a general commanding troops. The filmmakers framed her commands as a blend of choreography and warfare. In early drafts, she had more emotional scenes about losing a child, but they were cut for pacing. The name John is used to make Wick feel universal. Screenwriter Derek Kolstad chose the name because it's common in many languages, making John Wick feel like an everyman despite his skills. That contrast adds emotional depth. Kane in Chapter 4 was designed as a blend of Zatoichi and Don Yen's past roles, blind but supremely aware. Kane's mannerisms and walking cane were direct nods to classic Japanese cinema. Yen contributed ideas on how to balance strength with grace. The tattoo on John's back, Fortis Fortuna Adiuvuat, is a real Marine Corps motto. It translates to "Fortune favors the brave." This, paired with the praying hands and cross, hints at John Wick's past military service and inner battle between fate and free will. John Wick's suits are designed with real bullet-resistant lining based on modern Kevlar suits. They were created in collaboration with tactical fashion consultants and customers. While not fully protective in reality, they're based on actual armor concepts. The John Wick franchise helped revive the careers of multiple stunt performers. Many background fighters got bigger jobs after appearing in John Wick's iconic sequences. Stahelski and Leitch intentionally cast underappreciated stunt talent in major roles. The opening credits font is a nod to 1970s martial arts cinema. Each title card is designed to feel slightly pulpy and foreign influence. This subtle touch gives the film's greenhouse meets samurai aesthetic. Chad Stahelski cites video games like Max Payne and Hotline Miami as influences. Both games shared a fast-paced, stylish tone where gunfights unfold like puzzles. The top-down Dragon's Breath shot in Chapter 4 is a direct homage. Real-life dog adoption spiked after release of the first movie. Beagles and pit bulls saw noticeable increases in adoptions as fans connected with John's bond. Keanu Reeves himself has supported animal rescue since. The John Wick franchise has been referenced in over 50 other films, TV shows, and video games. From Brooklyn Nine-Nine to Call of Duty, pop culture now uses John Wick as shorthand for unstoppable killer with a code. John Wick has a comic book prequel that expands his backstory. Published by Dynamite Comics, it explores his early career as an assassin and his first marker. John Wick's quietness wasn't just acting, it was written to reflect grief. The more pain he feels, the less he speaks. This silence became a trademark, making his few lines carry more weight. The franchise's fight team is made up of alumni from The Matrix, 300, and the other iconic action films. Stahelski recruited performers who understand storytelling through movement. That's why the fights feel like a part of the plot, not a break from it. The color palette in Wick's films follows his emotional journey. Warmer tones in Chapter 1 shift to stark neon and deep blues by Chapter 4, reflecting how far he's fallen from humanity. It's a visual storytelling without dialogue. Keanu Reeves personally thanked over 200 crew members at wrap parties. He is known for giving generous gifts, like motorcycles or Rolexes, but his humility stands out. Many crew members have worked on all 4 films, a rare feat in Hollywood. From pencil kills to bulletproof suits, the John Wick franchise isn't just an action, it's an art, and behind every headshot there's a story. If you enjoyed diving into these 100 killer facts, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments which John Wick moment still lives rent-free in your head. And of course, subscribe for more deep dives into the films you love.